Okay, so I guess I'll just start by telling you about how I've been finding lockdown so far. Just to introduce myself, my name is Rachel. I work for King Sport and I also teach Pilates at King. So I would have been there in the studios before lockdown, but now you will find me on the online timetable. My job is project coordinator. So I organise all the events that we run, such as the Great Kings Run, Take Time Out, and This Girl Can Week, all of those kind of things that you'll find throughout the year. So for me, lockdown has been quite interesting because it's changed my job quite a lot. I've had to be a bit innovative with what we're going to offer, both now and in the future. So it's been quite challenging at times. Work-wise. So if anyone has any recommendations or thoughts of how you as students think that we can take this forward, staying online or socially distancing at least into next year, if you've got any feedback, then please let me know, because we're always trying to be student-led. But yeah, my personal experience, I've actually quite enjoyed in a way the excuse to have to just slow down a bit. I find that London especially is a very fast-paced city to be in, so it's actually been quite refreshing to not have to be rushing around all the time on the tubes and buses and everything. So yeah, I think there obviously have been some challenges. I'm trying to look at the positives that are coming out of it as well. So that's my experience. Over to Laura.
Thanks, Rach. So I'm Laura. So I work at the King Sports Strand Gym as one of the fitness coaches there. So I run the classes there, do some personal training sessions, some inductions. So I've probably seen a few of you there. And then I also run the performance athlete program. So I don't know if many of you are aware, but we have a program that allows student athletes, elite athletes, to continue training as well as do their academics. So we are an accredited university for that. So that's what I've been doing for like the last year. It's obviously been very different because we've had to support athletes virtually, not face to face. So, but we've been trying to keep the support there. We've been finding different ways to try and check in with them just to make sure they're okay. And then I have also been doing the online timetable. So lots of classes each day that I'm not sure if many of you have tried yet, but if you haven't, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail as we go on. And lastly, for me, lockdown, I've come back home with my family. So like Rachel said, I'm from quite a small village called Brockenhurst. So it's basically the countryside. So there's not many people around me. I'm just with my family. So it's been quite nice to spend a lot of time. I've got my brother and sister back with me. So it is nice. It has been enjoyable. Obviously missing everyone in London though. So there's perks, but also there are some downsides as well. But yeah, just tried to stay quite active and that's really helped me. So yeah, that's a bit about me. And Johnny?
All right, thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Johnny. I am a site supervisor for King Sports, so I look after the Strand Gym mainly. And Laura winds me up near enough every day, but pleasure to work with. So yes, how I find lockdown, I think to be honest, has kind of been staged insofar as initially I was incredibly anxious at the start because we were entering into such an unknown era for our society. We didn't know how we were going to adapt, what the future held, and I've now actually kind of slowed down a bit and accepted obviously the circumstances and the situation that everyone is in, because everyone is in the same boat, and kind of taking the time to reevaluate the things that are going on in my life and put more priority in certain areas. So one thing that we've actually been able to do is I've now had more communication with my family back in Ireland than I think what I've had in years. And one of the little things that has come out of lockdown is that my mum, who just turned 60, has now got WhatsApp and is sending gifs, whatever you call them, emoticons. So getting a message from her is incredibly funny. But yeah, no, how I'm finding lockdown is actually it's quite nice. I'm taking the opportunity to kind of slow down, not drink 10 coffees every day, and yeah, just reevaluate life and what I'm doing.
That's great. Shall I go? So I'm actually not from King's Sport. I started my degree at King's this year. I'm studying physiotherapy, and but I am a personal trainer. I've been working as a freelance personal trainer for a few years now. How's life been in lockdown? It's been really interesting, to be honest. You know, it's something that none of us were prepared for, but it's actually quite inspiring to see how people have come together and connected online through social media platforms, you know, doing things like this, jumping on Zoom. And I've seen it not only with myself, but with so many people that I know, like people connecting online, doing exercise classes together. And I was asked myself by the King's Boxing Society to lead the classes for them. And we've been doing like bi-weekly classes ourselves. And, you know, people, wherever they are, they were back home, you know, in Europe or wherever they were, everyone was logging in and we were training together, and we've still got that going, and it's really brought us together as a community, I think. So there definitely is a lot of like positive things that have come out of this. It's a bit worrying, you know, going forward as to how we're going to get back to normality and where we stand with this virus. But I think in terms of activity, I've seen so many people turn to fitness like through this as a way of dealing with the isolation. It's like everyone's had so much more time on their hands that they've just put that energy and that time into fitness, going out for runs and doing exercise classes. So I think, you know, that's probably one of the best things that's come out of this pandemic. And also what everyone else said about, you know, getting that break from everyday hustle bustle life in London as well. That's been really good. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, Franny, was there anyone else that we needed to address? Moving on to the next question. Okay, so next, we're just going to talk about how to stay active, some ideas that we've got for you at home, in lockdown, in quarantine, if you're self-isolating, some tips and tricks of what you can do. So I'm going to start off by telling you about something called King's Move. I'm going to assume you don't know anything about it, so apologies if you do, but just so everyone gets the full picture. King's Move is an app. It's recently transferred over from what used to be High Motive. So if you're a returning student, you may have used it on the website, but we've got a new app that launched in February, and it's a points-based app that you can connect to your phone. It's really awesome. So if you've got Apple Health or Google Fit or Strava, any of these apps that automatically track your activity, you connect it up to King's Move and it will sync all of the data automatically. So you don't have to do anything, you don't have to log anything. But what it does, it counts your activity and it can be used to get points that you can then use to redeem rewards. So these can be things like coffees and cakes in the King's food outlets around university, or we've got merchandise, we've got hoodies. I don't see anyone hoodie on today, but I see them around uni. They're very popular. You do need quite a lot of points, but people do it eventually, so it's definitely worth saving up for. T-shirts, towels, all sorts of stuff, and it's basically free. All you have to do is get moving. So it can count steps, it can count running, cycling, all of this kind of stuff. And there's also additional things like challenges. So you can join. We did a virtual run, and all of them, the challenges, if you complete them, you get additional points. And some good things with the new app is that you can create groups. So if you live in a halls of residence, you could join a, say, Wolfson House group, or even narrow it down to your own Flat 64 group. So it's really cool. You can build communities on there, and it's just a way of rewarding you for staying active. Really highly recommend everyone downloads that on their phone, gives it a go, and if you have any problems, then you can just email kingsmove, all one word, at kcl.ac.uk. but on the website, on the Kingsport website, you'll be able to find some more information and a link to download that. I think Franny's got a question. Yeah?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. There was a question on the chat asking if you could collect these rewards retrospectively, or you need to like start again.
As in when you get back from lockdown, is that? Let me just see on the chat.
Yeah.
So,
I do think you can apply for both, like if you are a returning student or if you are...
Oh, does it kind of reset? Is that what you're asking, Mo? At the moment, no. At the moment, your points will just carry on counting. We think next summer, so summer of 2021, we will put a cut off, and they will reset at the end of every year. But yeah, you've got that whole year to be saving up. So if you've got any points now, they're not going to reset before the next academic year, if that answers your question.
Nice.
Okay, on to Laura.
Blocks going off, Rach. Yeah, so another way that we have found, or I've found to stay active is through home workouts. So Franny was saying she's still in her residence, so still living in a residence and doesn't have much space. And I'm sure that's the same for quite a lot of you, or maybe you've gone home and you don't have any equipment. So one thing that we've put in place is an online timetable that allows you to do some home workouts at home, in your own home. They're only 30 minutes, so they are really short, and there's a whole range of different things. So there's anything from some high intensity classes if you're into cardio sessions, or some quick HIIT stuff. But there's also things like yoga. So anything that we kind of offer in the gyms, we've tried to bring that across onto an online platform. It's all through Zoom. So like this is, we've got our timetable online, so you can have a look at that. They've got the codes on there and the password. So you can just join in. You don't have to have your camera on, but you can have your camera on. So I've been doing quite a lot of the sessions recently. So I've been looking, I sometimes look in each of their cameras just to see how they're doing, if you need help with the technique, but you don't have to have your camera on. So yeah, there's a whole range though, so there's loads of different things. There's some abs as well, so core exercises, and they range from anything from 8 AM, and then we've got some in the evening as well. We've got a box fit that I do on Thursday evenings, that's quite fun as well. But that's just a really good way to stay active. It's been helping quite a lot of people. It's really good because it's, like I said, really short. And yeah, I think that's a really good way. If you haven't tried them already, do check them out. It's just on the Kingsport website. And they're free for everyone to join in at the moment. So it's a really good way to stay active and try and put a positive spin on this lockdown. So, yeah.
And then just my input then kind of would be, I don't know how many have actually done group exercise classes before, but one of the main perks that I believe comes out of doing the virtual sessions is that you don't feel the pressure of having people beside you working at 110%, and perhaps you're a beginner. You don't have to worry about an instructor seeing you from across the room and coming over and making you, feel bad that you're not going harder, because one of the things about virtual sessions is that if it's a 30-minute session, you can come along for 10 minutes. That's the goal for week 1, do 10 minutes of a class. Week 2, do 15. Week 3, do 20. You don't have to do a lot, but I suppose what my experience, especially in lockdown, has been, and with fitness, has been that something will always beat nothing. So as long as you're doing something and staying active, it doesn't have to be the hardest workout, it doesn't have to be the best, it doesn't have to be the most efficient, just as long as you're doing something. And there's a million and one, as just to follow on from what Rachel and Laura have said, there's a million and one different options through Kingsport. You can try different streaming services. There's Les Mills, or I've seen a couple of fantastic workouts on YouTube, so have a browse, go on the internet. If you want to do legs, just type in leg workouts, because there's millions out there. Just have a bit of fun with it would be my recommendation, and just get moving.
Thank you, guys. I was just wondering, I have a question for all of you, and Samir, if you're still there, of course, this question is for you as well, and Grace, if you want to share your experience as well, is why do you think in times of like this pandemic and the lockdown, it's important to stay active? Because the Being Active program has always been emphasizing that it's very good for your health, your physical health, but also for your mental health. But now that we have this pandemic going on, what do you think it's like, why would somebody start, like, for example, being more active if they never, like, if they were not active before? What do you think is important?
I'm just gonna chime in, because after this I am gonna have to dip out. I'm really sorry. So I'll just finish with one quick point here. I think for me, it's such an opportunity to grab, to just try something you would never try before, because it's so easily accessible now. It's all gone online. Before the pandemic, we didn't have all of these online, especially free services. Even I know loads of Instagram and Facebook live sessions are happening, and maybe you wouldn't want to pay to go to a box fit session if you'd never done it before, and it would be a bit daunting to arrive and chat to people and get to know everyone. But you can, as Laura said, you don't even need to put your video on. No one even knows you're doing it, and you can just try everything out there. Because the thing with exercise is there's no point in doing something if you don't enjoy it, but there's so many different variations. It's really important to find what you do enjoy, and then you're going to get the most out of it. So if you've always been one of those people that thinks, oh, I just don't like exercise, I hate running, or I'd never liked PE at school, it's not just that. There's so much out there. There's dance, there's mind and body stuff like yoga and Pilates, there's boxing, as I said, there's all the martial arts. So use this time to get online, really easily accessible stuff, and try out loads of new stuff until you find the right something for you. I'm going to leave you with that.
Yeah. See you later, Ray.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Rachel said as well. And also, I think, you know, with this virus and with people being in lockdown, they're not getting all the activity they would normally get when they're traveling around, you know, walking to the bus stop, walking to uni. So your activity levels will naturally be a lot less than what they would normally be. So it's really important to be getting some activity in. And also, you know, for your mindset as well, it really helps your mind relax, and just for your overall health and mental health as well. It's really important to exercise, and most of all, you're going to feel good. You know, it doesn't matter what activity you do. Like somebody else mentioned, I think it was Jonathan, just doing whatever you can do, whatever's good for you, just moving, getting your body moving is going to make you feel good. So yeah.
And just to kind of continue on from what Samira said there, one of the real, I think, benefits of it is that it's tangible results. So say, for example, again, you know, you want to do 50 burpees and you time yourself, you know, and then 2 weeks later you try again for that target, and you actually can then see your improvement. It's tangible. You can actually see that, wow, you know, a month ago I didn't think I could do 50 burpees. You know, now I'm doing it, and I can see improvement. And that, you know, that's just an example of a million things. It can be yoga, it can be literally anything at all, but it's actually seeing that progress. Because I don't know about anyone else, but I'm very goal orientated. I like seeing that I'm making progress, and I like knowing that I'm achieving. It gives me a real sense of achievement to see that, wow, that's paying off. So that's one of the things I would think would be a massive benefit as well, not only for the endorphin hit, but it actually lets you see the progress you're making.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've seen, oh, sorry, Grace, you go.
No, you go.
Oh, no, I was just going to answer Freya's question, but you, yeah.
Okay, well, just following on from Jonathan, I think another like really important thing, like I'm very goal oriented as well, and I find sometimes with my fitness I can get into like a rut where I'm like plateauing, or I feel myself like plateauing, and I'm like, okay, well, how, like, why am I not like still improving? And I think one of the best things to do is to measure your success in like like as many different ways as you possibly can. Like, not, if you're going on a run, like don't just measure like your time and distance and like your pace. You can measure it and like measure your success in so many different ways. Like if you really, really didn't want to go for a run, like congratulate yourself, like getting out of the house and like going for a slow jog. Like I think even if you do like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it really doesn't matter. Like it will boost your, as you say, boost your energy, boost your endorphins, and make you feel good. So I think that's like a really good way of like helping, just like be proud of yourself no matter what you've done, as long as you've like got moving. But yeah,
I think variety is also really important. You know, like you said, like if you reach a plateau in your training, sometimes all you need to do is like try something new, something that's, you know, challenging in a different way. and then when you come back to doing your original activity, you find, you know, you might find some improvement. And not just with fitness, but I found myself in the early weeks of lockdown doing things that I haven't done for ages, like drawing or writing poetry, or just something that you never get time for. And I think that's one of the good things that's come out of lockdown. And I've seen a lot of people doing it online, posting, you know, things like they're getting into cooking and, you know, all sorts of different activities. And I think that's important, having that variety. And then, you know, obviously you keep your fitness going as well, because that's, you know, if you are one of those people that loves fitness, you're always going to have that there anyway. You're always going to make time for it. So, yeah.
So before Freya's question, I have a question from Instagram, and I think this is something that not only sports, but a lot of different activities will have the same question, is, are the online sessions going to continue after the pandemic is over? Because I think a lot of people would prefer that format, like to not have to like probably travel a long distance or to stay very late in the campus in the university, so they could just join online. So I don't know if you have a reply for this, but do you think it will be a possibility to have some of the events online? That's from Kingsport, and also Samir, if you want to comment.
So I think this pandemic, on the whole, in everything, in every aspect, will probably change a lot of people's way of thinking or how they do things. It's probably given a really good different perspective. So people have been able to try out doing stuff online, and maybe perhaps before they wouldn't have thought that it would have gone so well, that it would be so easy just to log onto your computer and do it. I think at the moment for things like Kingsport, it's obviously just a bit unknown at the moment, but I think we can definitely see the success that it's helped a lot of people. So I think finding different ways to try and support the students and the King's community will be definitely something that we look to do. So I think, and other online platforms, I'm sure they'll be doing the same and thinking the same, because it has been fairly easy to do, and obviously has reached quite a lot of people, and you can see the impact. So it is really, it's good to see. So hopefully we can continue to put something in place.
Thank you.
And with my classes as well, I would look to keep them going if there was a demand for it and people wanted to still log in online. It's not much of an inconvenience for me to just, you know, log online for an hour or so if, you know, people want to join. So yeah, if there's a demand for it, then I'd love to keep it going.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Should I? I'll give a brief answer to Freya's question, then I'm going to go for my dinner. But I think from a mental health perspective, if you feel like time away from your desk is counterproductive, I know that, I mean, I'm a master's student, and I know that I've been struggling with the fact that I can't go to the library. I'm currently back at home in my parents' house, so like I don't have the same routine that I used to, which was like get up, go to the library, and then come back and like do my exercise or whatever, or get up early and do my exercise, go to the library, etc. So I think that's definitely like factored into like that lack of routine can be really damaging for your mental health, and can lead to, like, if you're a hard worker, it can lead to like feeling guilty if you take time away, and not like kind of just pushing yourself to work like maybe more than you would if you're not having that kind of strict routine in place. So I think probably the best thing to do if you're feeling that time away, like doing something else other than work is counterproductive, I think the first thing you should do is write up a little routine for yourself, like even if it's just like setting yourself like a time, like, okay, I'm only going to do my work from like, I don't know, 9 till 3 with breaks, and then give yourself time off in the evening to do exercise or hobbies or watch telly. I think it's really important, especially during this pandemic, that you're kind to yourself. And if you're working really long hours, you're not going to be producing the best work that you can, because you're going to burn out. So I think taking like half an hour or an hour to do exercise, or you know, even go for a walk, is going to actually be way more productive than if you just sit at your desk from the second you wake up till you go to bed, especially if you're working in your bedroom. Yeah, so that's how I would advise someone who's feeling like that. But yeah. I'm just going to go for dinner, but thank you so much, Franny, and everyone, all the speakers. Bye.
Bye, Grace. Laura wanted to answer the question of Freya as well.
Yeah, I think what Grace said was obviously really true. And I think sometimes when you get so bogged down with work as well, you're sat at your laptop, and sometimes taking a break in that moment and doing a little bit of exercise can really refresh your ideas and can give you a new mindset. And just taking that break and then starting again, it isn't counterproductive, because it's allowing you to actually forget about it for a while and restart. And sometimes that's important as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the day. Just getting a little, and we're not asking you to do constant exercise or 3 hours of exercise. Just having a small break is really good for the mind and the body, and even just moving around a bit. Anything helps, like Johnny was saying. So I think
I totally agree. And I think even like people expect themselves to be able to do like an hour's continuous exercise, but sometimes you could just break it up into bite-sized chunks of exercise. You could do maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes midday, you know, take a break from work, go make yourself a cup of tea and do like 10 minutes of exercise and come back. That's a good strategy. Or maybe just getting it out the way in the morning, and then you've got the rest of your day to do all your work. That's another strategy. So just trying to kind of figure out how you can make it work for you, and that you're getting the minimum amount of activity that you need each day. Yeah.
Yeah, John, I don't know if you want to comment on that question.
I think what everyone has said has been incredibly true and incredibly valid, because ultimately the best thing you can do is practice self-care, that in no matter what form it comes in, that you look after your own well-being, whether that is via exercise or whatever. But you need to ensure that you are getting little breaks so that you can maintain efficiency, whereas if you're working continuously, that workload will get to you eventually. So you can kind of change the mindset that getting away from the desk will actually make you more productive, not less.
Yeah, I think I was in my own experience, well, I wouldn't say I'm a sports person, but since I moved to London, I was checking on the step count that I have on my phone, and just because I had to take the train or the tube or the bus or walk a little bit, I would do like 8,000 steps per day. And I think the first week of lockdown, and that was the most uncertain of all the weeks, because nobody knew what was happening. And because I'm not from London, so it was always a question of, should I go back to my country? Should I take that risk? Should I stay here? If I stay here, am I able, like, will I be able to go out or to meet new people, or should I go back to my family? And I think I had so much pressure on my mind, and I was so stressed out. Then I realized at like the 5th day that I haven't moved. And I just realized that because I was checking the step count, and from 8,000, it went out to 30. So it was a huge like decrease. And I started to notice that my legs were feeling very sore. My knees were so sore just because I will stand up to go to the kitchen, that in my room is literally 5 steps. So I will be hurting. And of course, my first paranoia was, okay, I have coronavirus and muscle pain. And I think because I didn't have any other symptoms, I said, okay, I'm going to try and go outside. I was afraid, and a lot of students were also afraid to like catch the virus if we go out. It was very hard to have masks. So I remember the first exercise that I tried to do was to go up the staircases of my building, and my building has a lot of staircases, it's 31. So I started with like 3 because I knew that it was going to be a pain. And I remember it was very tiring, but after that, I didn't have any more pain. So the physical pain that I had, it was because I wasn't moving. So I think that was like a first wake-up call. Like, even if we cannot go outside, or we are afraid to go outside, we can move a little bit, and just by standing up, sometimes like our body feels better. And if we feel better physically, that's going to impact our energy as well. And it's going to, at least in my case, reduce the fears of having the virus, because I will feel better. I wouldn't have a huge headache if I move a little bit. And one other thing that I wanted to add before our next question that I have for you is that or at least a lot of people, put a lot of pressure on themselves. So they think, okay, if I'm in the pandemic, and there's a lot of phrases going around on the internet that if you said that you couldn't read a book because you didn't have time, or you couldn't learn a skill because you didn't have time, now you cannot have any excuses because you have time. So I think one important thing that I want to state is that we are not on holidays, and we are not on a normal setting that you say, I have no worries on the world but to read a book. We are worried about what's going to happen with the pandemic, if we are going to have lectures or not, if we are going to lose our jobs or not, if you're going to get sick, if our friends or family are going to get sick. Now we are seeing this new conversations going on about racism, about classism, sexism. So it's not at normal time that you can say my mindset is perfect, it's just willpower. So my recommendation will be to not try to have a skill learned after the pandemic, just to move a little bit. It will make you feel better, but without the pressure of achieving an important goal. So you can do what Grace was saying and Samir was saying, and of course Laura, Jonathan, and Rachel was saying, like, you can have small goals, like going outside, check. That doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to start running marathons next week. And I know that because I work like that, like in my mind, if I'm not going to be the new champion, then what's the point? And I think the point is just to not go mad and just to feel that my body is still functional. I think that will be my goal, at least, to don't feel the pain of, like, I don't know, a 90-year-old person. Like, it shouldn't happen that now. So that was the comment that I had. I don't know if you want to comment on that as well. And then I have a couple of questions, and of course the conversation can keep going if we have more questions or if you have more experience to tell.
Yeah, I think it's really important to reach out to people if you're stressed out, you know, and you feel like you've got a lot of things to do and you're constantly stressed. You know, maybe it is nice to take a break, and if you can get your friends and family involved, maybe go for a walk with a family member, or, you know, go for a socially distant walk with a friend. That's a good thing to do as well. So there's many things you can do, but I mean, obviously everyone's situation is different as well, so we all just have to kind of do the best we can do. But it's also important not to put too much pressure on yourself as well. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. What we're saying is we're not telling you to get out and, like you said, run marathons or anything like that. This is a pandemic, and it is a very stressful time for everyone, and it is different, and it isn't, you shouldn't look on the internet and think, oh, I need to achieve this by a certain time because we're in this lockdown. I think you just need to take each day as it comes, really. You just need to try, give different things a go. If you don't fancy it one day, don't stress yourself. Don't worry if that day isn't quite as good as you hoped it to be. I think just maybe giving yourself some small goals has helped me with like you were saying, Franny, getting yourself out and going for a walk. Whereas I always used to walk to work. So at the start of lockdown, I found myself doing no steps at all. So now I've decided each morning that before I start my work, just to get myself moving, I just go for a little walk, get the steps in, and also just gives you some time to think about what's going on, what you want to achieve in the day, if you how you're feeling. And I think it's just a good time to listen to yourself and don't beat yourself up about it. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Mm-hmm. I think we have a question in the chat. Mm-hmm. Can you read the question?
Yeah, do you want me? Shall I answer this? So it says, do athletes go through the same concerns as everyone else? Do we give them the same advice? So literally, this is something that I've been working with a lot of the athletes at the moment through this lockdown. They feel exactly the same. They are normal. They are human. It's exactly the same for them. They obviously have had a lot of their competitions cancelled. They can't go to train. It's different for them. Their whole life's changed, just like everybody else. So they absolutely have the same concerns, and they literally have just been taking it day by day. There's no point setting big, unrealistic goals for the future right now. I think the main important thing that I would say is just to focus on the now, and just focus on what you're doing at the moment, and not try to worry about what's going on or what is going to happen in a month's time or 2 months' time. But yeah, they are giving the same advice. You've just got to, it is going on, and it's something you've just got to accept and see what you can do, but don't beat yourself up. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, thank you. One of the questions that I have for you is thinking about how this has impacted you. Like you were saying in the beginning, how the lockdown has been for you, how some of you have to go back home and change the scenery. There's uncertainty that we all struggle with. how do you think being in charge of conducting some of these activities online has helped you or has impacted your life? Like you being in charge of giving these activities online and advising people and athletes, like you were saying.
Yeah. I'll answer this quickly, but then I'll let someone else talk. This is just quite a big thing for me. So at the moment, so I have a lot of my friends as well who've been doing the classes, and I've been someone that they can kind of come to and get that support and chat to about their PT or whatever. And that for me has been something that I've loved so much during this lockdown. So I found that like being able to give something and to try and make a positive impact on people's lives has really, really been quite rewarding. And it just, it's felt really good to be able to actually help them and try and not necessarily just tell them these things, but try and update their knowledge as well, so they know what to do and like try and teach them. And yeah, I think it's the whole community's kind of come together, and I think everyone's asking different questions that they perhaps wouldn't have asked before. And yeah, for me, it's been really rewarding in that sense.
Thank you. Who else wants to go? John, Samir?
Do you want to go, John?
Yeah, just to kind of follow on from what Laura has said, really, what I personally find it to be is incredibly rewarding. But what I've also found has kind of further from what Grace has said, it has maintained my routine. So I base my day around going and doing one activity, whether that's a run, a cycle, whatever the case may be. That then just gives me that baseline every day to maintain the same sort of routine insofar as I don't know about everyone else, but the first thing that kind of suffered for me at the start of lockdown was my sleep, because suddenly I didn't have to get up to commute. So I was then staying up to 12, 1, 2 in the morning, and then suddenly I was then less productive and so on and so forth, where I was setting little goals of, okay, right, at 9 or 8:30 or whatever, I'm getting up for a walk and go for a run. That routine has been really a God save or aggressive, but then also kind of what Laura has said as well, it's been incredibly social. It has kind of shown me just how big the community is out there, especially King's communities, for doing the staff and the students, and you know, hosting sessions where we have perhaps 100 people, you know, and whereas whenever we were in our facility, we could have maybe had perhaps 30 people at an absolute max capacity. So it's amazing just to see how virtually the reach is so much better, and just seeing on screen how many people are actually having fun and exercising. So that's incredibly awesome and incredibly rewarding.
So you have been able to meet new people through this pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. I have through doing gym inductions and through programs and whatnot in the gym, to then actually seeing those people in some of the virtual sessions or friends of friends or whatever the case may be, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I remember meeting you months ago, and here you are. So it's been quite nice.
Yeah, I think the same happened to me, because I just recently, I'm in the GKT football team. So of course I've known the girls from like September, but I joined the boxing society like 2 weeks prior to the crisis. And I think I have met new people during this. And I think that has helped me as well, because even if at the beginning training was very hard because of the space as well, like I tried in one part and I would crash with everything. I tried in the kitchen, it could be a little bit dangerous. So I think if I was in a class, I would probably feel a little frustrated because I'm not doing well as the other ones. But here, just to have other people like seeing their faces, it was very rewarding, because I felt like, and I'm staying alone in the residence, so I felt like I have some company, even if the exercise was not perfect, I will have people there. Yeah. And I know Samir also, if you want to answer the question as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, you know, very similar experience to what John and Laura said. It was, you know, she's giving me that routine and that structure that I need as well, you know, that work and study balance as well, you know, knowing that I've got classes to take and I need to prepare for them. It just stopped me kind of going into like holiday mode where I don't have to worry about anything. It just kind of kept me, you know, allowed me to stay focused. And I've really enjoyed taking them. I've met so many people through the classes, and also reconnected with people that I haven't spoke to in a while, which has been really nice.
One of the other questions that I have is, for example, if you decide to go out and you decide to work out, walking, running, or going to the park, there are some myths related to working out in the pandemic. So for example, one is that you cannot work out with a mask. or that you cannot, like, if you get injured, you are not going to be able to ask for help because nobody's going to be like looking for that. They're going to be focusing on the pandemic. So I don't know if you have any practical advices of, for example, if you want to go for a run, is there a better mask to use? Is there a better time because there's less people going outside if you're in London, for example?
Well, I think the evidence around the mask situation is still a bit, they haven't really given us a concrete kind of answer to whether it's effective to wear a mask or not. Personally, when I go out for a run, I don't wear a mask, but I make sure that I socially distance myself from everyone. So I don't go too close to people when I'm running. I try and stay on the outside. That's what I personally do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've very much found the same, to the point where I've now created a bit of a dodge and weave game every time I'm going for a run, because you have a person to your left, one side, and then another 10 feet, there's a group of people, and yeah. And then to kind of answer your question, then what I have done now is try to time my run a little bit better, so it's not around people's lunch times where they're getting outside, or even after 5. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting out whenever there's less people out and about for that exact reason, so I'm not actually seeing as many people when I'm going out for my exercise. And yeah, further to what Samira said, I don't know really about what evidence there has been, but I don't wear a mask either when I run.
Mm-hmm.
And also the point you mentioned about the injuries, I would say, like, if you haven't got a previous injury that you're worried about, where you know that you've previously injured it and that area hasn't healed, then I wouldn't worry too much about injuring yourself. Like, it could just be all in your head, where you're avoiding a certain activity because you're afraid of injuring yourself. And as long as you're not going to push yourselves way out of your comfort zone to the point where you're going to injure yourself. So start slowly and just build up your confidence. And there's no need to worry about something that hasn't happened.
Laura, what has been your experience with the lockdown?
So for me, and with the face masks, I haven't started wearing a face mask yet either. I know in London on public transport we have to from the middle of June, I think it is, but I'm still very much at the moment in my own little bubble. Like, for example, London, I know a lot of people probably feel a lot more normal, but I'm out in the countryside, like I said. So at the moment for me, it is a bit, I don't really go out the house much. I do have a garden though, so I can get out. I do try and do a lot of my classes just outside or with the door open, get some fresh air. But I think doing exercise you're not going to suddenly be really close to people. You can socially distance when you are exercising. I think there's no point worrying about that if you're not right in it, if you know what I mean. So like if you're going on runs like Johnny said, then you can socially distance and you can do the workouts in your room. You don't need much space for them. You don't have to be around people when you're doing them. All you need is like a mat space, like a 2-meter space, and you can do a lot of workouts. You can have a stretch as well. And also with the injuries, I think a lot of the online sessions do have adaptations, so they have regressions, so you can always find a way to do it without pushing yourself massively. If you are new, if you are one of those beginners and you really want to try something new, you want to get into some exercising and you are on your own, so you're afraid, then I think looking up even YouTube for beginners, like Johnny said, they have loads of low impact stuff or loads of different exercises that you can try. And I think just giving it a go, and don't push yourself too hard, just try it a little bit at a time and then you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to share something that I have been doing. So in the beginning, like I said, I was very afraid to go out. I was very uncertain. And in the residence that I'm in, all the common spaces were closed. So it was also a sign of trying to stay away from people. And it was very cold at the beginning of the pandemic, so we still have rain. But then with the sun and everything, it was very hard to stay inside. So the first thing that I did was, and probably the companies are having a lot of profits, is to buy some things online. So I bought a mat because in my room, even though it's very small, the floor is not the best one. So I bought that. And I also bought a stepper. So like in my mind, it was like, if I never been able to go out again, at least I will have something to do in my room that's very small, because this room is tiny. So I couldn't have like a bicycle, for example. So that was my first step. And I know a lot of people have to doing that. I'm saying goodbye to Samir because he has to leave.
Okay, see you guys.
I don't know if you want to say, and I will resume, if you want to say your Instagram or any details.
Oh, sure, yeah. If you could add me on Instagram, it's Samir_FK .pt, sorry. Samir_FK.pt. And I've also got another page called Enlight Holistic Fitness. It'll be lovely to connect with you guys on there. So hopefully see you there.
Thank you so much, Samir.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, one of the ideas that I had was to try to have a mini gym here, but with very simple things, because I'm not, like I said, a very sports person, so I wouldn't know how to train myself. But I felt that the yoga mat was very for stretching, and the stepper would help me to like move my legs and avoid the pain. Then when I started to go out, I was very afraid, and both of my parents, so like have a little context, both of my parents are doctors, so of course they were very worried, and they are not here in the UK, so they were sending me messages like, take care of this, take care of that. So I remember the first time I went outside, I had like a mask, super huge goggles and gloves, so I was like, and a jacket, and I was like sweating because it was so hot, but I will be going like that. Then eventually I just try to keep social distancing. I still go out with a mask and with the goggles, but I find out that one of the most benefits that I have from that, of course, is preventing for the coronavirus, but also because there is a lot of hay fever, and that's something that I didn't know. I thought in the UK you didn't have allergies. That was my mistake. So at the beginning, of course, again, I thought, oh my God, I have the virus because I'm sneezing and my throat hurts. But then every time I would come inside, nothing. So I realized that the problem was there, and having the goggles and the mask, for once, it helps to not spread the virus. And it also helps you to be able to walk without the allergies if you have a lot of allergies like me. And for example, what I have been doing lately is to, because I'm still in London and I live like close to the river. So one thing that I have been doing is to use the Santander bikes. I usually have like alcohol or something to like clean it, like to clean where I put my hands on the seat. And then I will just go out. And I remember the first days I will go out for like 6 hours because that was how much I wanted to be outside. And I would just lost track of time, and I felt so good. And also trying to answer Freya's question, like I could be sitting inside, not doing anything for the whole day, and I will feel super guilty. So I wouldn't read for my essays, I wouldn't shower, I wouldn't do my bed, I wouldn't cook. I would just stay there watching Netflix forever, because Netflix, of course, asks you, do you want to keep watching? And I will start feeling bad. So I will start feeling guilty and my head would hurt. And again, oh my God, I have the virus. And then just by like going for a walk, 30 minutes, I will feel completely fine. And I think that's something very important about being physically active when like in a low scale, when you're not an athlete, is that a little movement shows a lot of improvement. So if you move 5 minutes, you will feel better. Your heart will feel better. Your legs will feel better. And it doesn't have to be a very huge change. It's just because you were doing it before. So that's the thing that I think struck me the most. Like I was doing it before because just by going to the underground, I was walking 8,000 steps per day. So even I was not a very sports person, I was doing a lot every day because of the commute. And then to just go from my bed to the kitchen to the toilet, it was like 30 steps. And I think that helped me realize how much this was important, because it was part of my life, but I didn't know it. And I think that changed my mindset. And then I started to say, okay, this is important. I will try to do this at least, I don't know, twice a week or something. So go back to you again if you want one final advice or something extra about your experience, or if anybody else have some questions.
Is there any other questions that have come through, or do you...
So I had the same question again, like if it's going to be a possibility to have this online in the future, because it's a modality that a lot of people like.
Yeah, like we said, that's probably, it has been going really well, and it has been easy for people to access, and it has shown them some positive impact on their lives. So I'm sure lots of people all over the online platforms, the social media platforms, as King Sport will try and accommodate that and try and see, try and take it with us in for the future. a new way of doing things, I guess it is. Exciting.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any last advice. So for example, if we are thinking of someone that will start to be a little bit more active, what will be a very basic goal to have for tomorrow, for example?
Shall I go? I'll go first and then you can have a goal, Johnny. I would say, because this is what I've been doing at the moment, like I said, the walking in the morning. So maybe if it's not pouring down, just getting out of bed, or even at any point in the day and going for a 15-minute walk, or just a short walk, or if you are already doing walks in the day to go and get your food, maybe just like one walk a day for the next few days, just trying to get yourself moving. I think that's just a good way to start. Or of course, I'm also going to say one last thing, try one of my online sessions. So I've got lots, I think we've got abs tomorrow evening. So that's literally 30 minutes. All you need is a small space, and it's not some high intensity, massive, big cardio, scary class. It's just some core exercises just to get you moving, and hopefully you'll feel good after.
Thank you. John, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, just kind of further from what Laura has said, is to try something new would be my recommendation. So if you have tried boxing, for example, in the past, try it again, or try kickboxing virtually, or try yoga. It's I've always liked the saying that it's you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're doing something. So my goal for people would be to do something different, regardless whether that is literally getting out of bed and working at the desk rather than in bed, or getting outside your room, getting outside your house. Whatever the case may be, just tailor it to you.
Yeah, I think we can start very, very short. And well, I was going to ask if Freya and Sarah that are still in Zoom have any questions, but Freya asked something. So if you can read that, John.
So the question then has been 3 tips for lockdown. My 3 tips would be: maintain a routine, whatever that may be, set achievable goals, and then practice self-care.
Do you have any personal, for example, ways that you can practice self-care that has been useful for you?
So kind of following on from what someone said earlier, I have started drawing again, and I also have a guitar. So I will either sketch, or if you don't draw, I've also got an adult coloring book. Okay. And I started one of the pieces. I thought it was going to be a bit naff, but once I started to do it and it took a bit of shape, it was actually really, really fun. And I think I got it on Amazon for like £12.
I have one of those books as well.
Yeah, it's really good actually.
Yeah, it keeps you focused, but at least it keeps you relaxed as well.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. What will be your 3 tips, Laura?
Oh, apart from the ones Johnny said, I would say starting off with not being too hard on yourself. So giving yourself a bit of a break. I mean, sorry, I have got a train going past here. Hope you can hear me. Yeah, not being too hard on yourself. They've got to be punchy, so I won't expand on that. Getting out of the house, like I said, going for a walk. And then the 3rd one would be try something new, like Johnny said before. Just give something a go. But don't start too, actually this is another one, don't start too crazy. Start easy. So that's the next, just start easy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I agree with you with all the steps. So we can have like 6 or 7 steps, I think, tips. So one will be like to take it one step at a time. And this is everything. It can be in like physical something, or in my case, if I'm writing the dissertation, if my goal is to finish the dissertation, I will never start. But if my goal is to write the introduction, maybe I can like do some phrases and stuff. The other one will be to it's like a phrase like socially distant, emotionally connected. I think one important part of the online events that you are hosting is to be able to meet with other people without putting our health in danger, and just to see other people and maybe have one comment on the chat. It makes you feel more connected to other people, and I think that's very important. We cannot lose that. Yeah, you want to comment on that, Laura?
No, yeah, no, carry on. Sorry, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, and of course, my last tip is that you keep joining our summer program, because there's a lot of people that are in the same scenario as us, that are still uncertain with what's going to happen, and that's in the whole world. So even if you have to travel back to your house in South America, in China, in Australia, or if you are in France, you will have some uncertainty of what's going on if you are coming back. And I think stay in tune with what's happening in London, but only in one portion of your life, not the whole 24/7. It can help you. So these events that are like scheduled can help, because they give you a little routine, but it's not all day long. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to say one more I don't know if we've mentioned it really, but just to control the things you can control and not worry about the outside news or what's going on, the things that you can't control, and just focus on what you can do yourself rather than worrying about all the different things. That's probably quite
yeah. You haven't said that, so that's a very interesting tip now to have in mind. But yeah. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here. I don't know if you have any last words. Of course, go ahead. I don't think we have any more questions for now. But I think it was very interesting to know who you are, not only like names that you're hosting events, but you are also being affected by this. You have to change your routine as well, and the place that you were living probably. And this has helped you as well, because if you are in charge of hosting this, that makes you feel more active, more productive. That's something very important in our society right now. And like John said, like we can even meet more people, because now we are engaging with like more quantity of people, because it's more accessible. So thank you for that. And also thank you for all the tips that you have said, for being patient with all of this. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can anytime. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.